The galaxy was old, older than the dreams of humankind. Among the stars, countless civilizations had risen and fallen. Some built their fleets like shining monuments, silver arcs of beauty gliding through the void. Others shaped their ships from crystal, from bone, even from living organisms that breathed the vacuum itself. To them, space was not just survival. It was art, culture, and pride. Their vessels were a reflection of their history, their greatness, and their arrogance. When the humans finally joined the stage of the stars, the galaxy looked upon them with amusement. The first human ships appeared in alien skies like awkward giants, gray and ugly. Their hulls were scarred by welding marks, their plating dented, their structure built from angles and boxes with no elegance at all. Where other species painted their ships in dazzling colors, humans left theirs bare, steel, iron, and rust. Where others crafted delicate wings and glowing curves, humans carried massive blocks of armor and bolts as thick as a hand. The galaxy laughed. Admirals of the Cathari Empire raised their ridged brows. "Do they truly think those bricks can fly?" they asked. The Andari Republic, with its graceful silver cruisers, declared that humans were children playing with scrap. Even the wandering traders of the Zithal, who respected most who traveled the void, could not resist the joke. "Look at them," they said, their voices filled with mirth, hauling their factories into the stars. Everywhere humanity went, their ships were mocked. At councils and trade stations, alien envoys chuckled when they saw them dock. The human vessels creaked, hissed, and bled oil. Compared to the polished wonders of the galaxy, they looked like drifting junkyards. But what the galaxy never understood was that these ships were not meant to be pretty. They were not built to impress strangers at a council. They were built for something deeper, something written into the bones of humanity itself. Each bolt, each plate, carried the sweat of workers who had known hunger and war. Every seam of welding carried the story of miners, engineers, and dreamers who had pulled steel from Earth's crust with bleeding hands. Humanity did not have the wealth of empires or the long traditions of interstellar design. What they had was something else: resilience. The galaxy did not see it. They only saw ugliness. They only heard the groaning of metal and the roaring of engines. They mocked the humans, calling them scrappers and junk haulers. Some even whispered that Earth would never last among the stars. But humanity had survived worse. On Earth, they had faced endless storms, raging seas, mountains that swallowed climbers whole, deserts that turned men to dust. They had fought wars that nearly destroyed them. They had endured winters that froze, armies, plagues that emptied cities, and darkness that lasted generations. And from all that suffering, they had learned something the galaxy had forgotten. Beauty was fragile. Steel was not. When the galaxy laughed, humanity did not argue. They did not try to polish their ships, nor paint them in colors to please alien eyes. They only worked harder. They welded thicker armor. They built bigger cannons. They forged their ships to be strong enough to take punishment and still keep moving. To the galaxy, their designs looked crude. To humans, their designs meant survival. The laughter of the galaxy echoed across the stars. In markets, in councils, in great halls of power, voices rose in mockery. "The humans bring their floating trash heaps into our sky," they laughed. "Perhaps they mean to sell scrap, not fight wars." But the humans stayed silent. They listened, but they did not bow. They had no need to boast. Deep inside, they knew something the galaxy did not. For humanity had a history the others had never lived. A history written not in beauty, but in fire and blood. A history where every battle was a struggle to survive and every weapon was born from desperation. Their ships were not junk. They were promises. Promises that no matter who mocked them, no matter who threatened them, humanity would endure. The galaxy laughed at human ships, but the laughter would not last. Because one day, those ugly gray vessels would open their guns, and then the galaxy would remember the sound of thunder. The laughter did not stop. Every new system humanity entered was the same. Smiles from traders, quiet chuckles from captains, open jokes from admirals who had ruled the stars for centuries. But laughter alone was never enough for the old empires. Pride demanded more. Someone had to prove, once and for all, that humans did not belong in the galaxy's stage of power. That someone was the Valori Dominion. The Valori were not just another empire. They were warriors born and bred in battle. Their history stretched back thousands of years, filled with conquests that had crushed dozens of worlds. They built ships like daggers, sharp and beautiful, painted in black and gold. Their fleets were symbols of fear, meant to show all others that resistance was useless. When news spread of humanity's clumsy ships moving through contested space, the Valori grew amused. But amusement quickly turned to anger. For the Valori, laughter was weakness, and weakness could not be tolerated. To them, humans were like insects crawling into places they did not belong. And so, the Valori Dominion sent a message. Humans of Earth, their envoy declared across the galactic channels, you bring your scrap heaps into the stars of warriors. You shame the void with your junk. Leave now, or we will scatter your pieces into the winds of space. The galaxy listened. They expected humanity to retreat, to bow their heads and accept the truth. After all, Earth was young. Their fleets were small. Their ships looked weak. Against the Valori, what chance did they have? But the humans answered differently. Their reply was not long. Not full of threats or boasts, it was simple. Test us if you wish. The galaxy froze. Many could not believe what they heard. Humanity, mocked and scorned, had just accepted the challenge of the Valori Dominion, the greatest warriors of the spiral arms. To everyone watching, it seemed foolish, even suicidal. The councils of the old races shook their heads. The humans are mad, one elder said. They will be destroyed in hours. Traders whispered bets in smoky stations. Some gambled on how long the humans would last. 10 minutes? 30? None believed they could win. The Valori laughed the loudest. They sharpened their blades and polished their fleets. We will crush them, they promised. Their wrecks will teach all others not to rise too quickly. And so, a battlefield was chosen. A barren world in a nameless system, far from trade routes, far from colonies. Empty space, where fire could rage without endangering others. The Valori arrived first. Their ships were elegant shadows, black and gold, forming a wall of steel and pride. Their commanders stood tall, eager for the hunt. This would not be war. This would be a lesson. Then the humans came. Their fleet drifted out of the dark like a line of silent giants. The ships were scarred, painted only by soot and scratches. Their engines glowed faintly. Their hulls looked dented, uneven, patched. Compared to the Valori, they looked like machines built in a scrapyard. The galaxy's laughter returned, though softer this time. Many believed they were watching the end of Earth's foolishness. But if the Valori expected fear, they saw none. The human ships moved with calm, steady purpose. No banners, no music, no declarations. Just silence. The captains sat at their stations, eyes fixed, hands ready. Each one carried the weight of Earth's history, the memory of ancestors who had fought and bled through every storm. These ships were not here to show beauty. They were here to show strength. The galaxy could not see it yet, but the truth was waiting in those steel hulls, waiting in the silence of their guns. The Valori thought this battle would be a performance, a spectacle of humiliation. But for humanity, it would be something else entirely. It would be a message that the stars were no longer owned by the old powers, a message that the age of laughter was ending. And soon, when the first shot was fired, the galaxy would learn what kind of fire Earth carried in its heart. On one side drifted the Valori fleet, sharp and shining like a wall of blades. Their ships gleamed in black and gold, engines burning with pride. Every hull was polished to perfection, every weapon carved with patterns of their warrior culture. These ships were not just machines. They were symbols of power, designed to intimidate and inspire. On the other side, the human fleet waited in silence. Their ships did not gleam. They did not shine. They looked like giants built from iron and rust. Their armor was thick and uneven, bolted in layers. Their cannons jutted out like teeth, ugly but dangerous. They were not beautiful. They were not meant to be. From the Valori command ship, laughter rolled through the open channels. "Are these the mighty humans?" one captain mocked. "Look at them. Cargo haulers pretending to be warships." Another sneered. "One volley and their shells will crack like eggs." Their commanders smiled, certain of victory. To the Valori, battle was an art. Their ships were swift, their wepo. And elegant beams of energy that could slice through the thin armor of most enemies. Against the humans, this would be a hunt, not a fight. But inside the human ships, no one laughed. The captains spoke in calm voices, checking systems, repeating codes, steadying their crews. These were men and women who knew fear but did not bow to it. They sat in chairs worn by years of use, surrounded by consoles that hummed with simple, reliable technology. They trusted their ships even if the galaxy mocked them. The silence of the humans unsettled the Valori. They had expected protests, insults, or at least trembling voices. Instead, there was nothing but steady breathing over the comms, like predators waiting for the right moment. The galaxy watched through distant relays. On stations and homeworlds, alien eyes fixed on the duel. Many still believed this would be quick. But a few, those who studied the humans closely, felt a whisper of doubt. The Valori commander raised his hand. "Begin the lesson," he ordered. And with that, the first wave of Valori fire streaked across the void. Beams of searing light cut through space, smashing into the human line. Explosions flashed across steel hulls. Plates of armor tore free, scattering into the dark. To those watching, it looked like the end. The Valori laughed once more. But then something strange happened. The human ships did not break. They did not scatter. They did not retreat. Their armor, thick, brutal, layered, absorbed the punishment. Where one plate fell, another stood beneath it. Where the light burned, the steel endured. The Valori's elegant weapons, designed to pierce speed and grace, could not easily chew through raw iron walls. Inside the command ships of Earth, the order was given. A simple phrase, calm and steady: "Guns, fire." The void thundered. It was not the smooth hiss of plasma or the crackle of beams. It was a sound the galaxy had never heard before. Like storms, like earthquakes, like the heart of a planet breaking apart. Giant cannons roared, hurling solid metal shells across space at impossible speeds. The first Valori cruiser was hit. Its sleek black hull buckled as a tungsten round tore straight through it. The second shell struck its engines and the proud ship exploded in golden fire. Laughter ended. The Valori gunners scrambled, panicked voices shouting. Their beams fired wildly, but more shells came. Thunder after thunder, hammer after hammer. Their elegant armor cracked like glass under the relentless strikes. The galaxy, watching in silence, finally understood. The humans had not come with art. They had not come with beauty. They had come with war. And as more shells ripped through the Valori line, the old laughter of the galaxy began to die. The Valori had expected a hunt. They had expected a quick victory, a lesson to show the galaxy. What they did not expect was resistance, unyielding, cold, and merciless. The first exchange shook the stars. Valori beams cut across the dark, striking human ships again and again. The void lit up with fire, sparks, and shattered metal. The human fleet took the punishment in silence. Thick armor cracked, vents screamed with pressure, fires burned in the halls, but the ships did not fall. Their engines still glowed. Their guns still waited. The Valori grew impatient. "Why won't they break?" one captain shouted. "They are nothing but scrap and iron." Another barked, and then the humans answered. From the lead ship, a single word echoed through the channels: fire. The roar of the human guns shook the void. Massive shells flew faster than sound, faster than thought. They crossed the space between fleets in moments, glowing red with the heat of their launch. They struck the Valori ships with terrible force. One round punched through a cruiser's bridge, tearing it open like paper. Another ripped through engines, and the proud gold flames of the Dominion turned into dying sparks. The Valori commanders froze in disbelief. Their weapons had been designed for quick duels, for striking at weak points, for breaking fragile shields. They had never prepared for this, for raw power, for endless fire, for steel upon steel. The humans did not pause. Their ships, ugly and scarred, fired again and again. Cannons thundered. Shells screamed. Every shot was like the heartbeat of a giant, steady and merciless. Valori crews screamed orders, trying to dodge. trying to answer with their own fire. Beams struck back, slicing across the battlefield. A human destroyer cracked open, its hull venting fire into the void. Men and women died inside, their voices cut off in silence. But even as ships burned, the rest pressed forward. The humans did not retreat. They did not scatter. Their formation held like a wall of iron, moving together, protecting each other. Each ship carried the spirit of Earth itself, the will to stand even when the world seemed to end. And with every volley, more Valori ships fell. A battleship, once the pride of the Dominion, shattered under a storm of shells. Its hull split apart, golden fragments spinning into the void. Another cruiser tried to ram a human ship, desperate to end the pounding fire. But the human vessel turned and unleashed its cannons point blank. The cruiser exploded before it even made contact. The galaxy watched in silence. Billions of eyes stared through broadcast screens, expecting at any moment for the humans to falter. But they did not falter. Instead, they fought with a fury the galaxy had forgotten. For the humans, this was not just a battle of fleets. It was the story of their entire history. The fire of every war, every loss, every desperate struggle now burned in the guns of their ships. A Valori commander screamed over the comms, his voice breaking with panic. They are monsters. They build weapons only to destroy. But deep inside, even he knew it was not true. The humans had not built their guns for glory. They had built them for survival. They had built them so that no matter who threatened them, no matter how powerful the enemy, their children would live to see another sunrise. The Valori had mocked human ships. Now their fleets were breaking under their fire, and the galaxy, once full of laughter, was learning the truth. The thunder of Earth's guns was not just sound. It was a warning. The age of mockery was over. The battlefield was no longer filled with laughter. The proud Valori, who once mocked, now screamed in fear. Their elegant cruisers twisted in the dark, torn open by human shells. Fire spilled into the void. Golden ships, once symbols of pride, broke apart like fragile glass. Every volley of human guns shook the stars. Every explosion echoed like thunder across the galaxy's channels. At first, the Valori commanders tried to hold order. "Form ranks," they cried. "Focus fire!" "Break them." But no formation could withstand the storm. The humans fired without pause. Their ships were built like fortresses, their guns like hammers from the heart of a planet. Every shot was brutal, direct, unstoppable. One Valori battleship turned to flee, its captain desperate to escape. The humans tracked it calmly, their cannons adjusting. A single round pierced its engines, and in seconds the proud warship was gone. Nothing but burning fragments drifting in the cold. Panic spread through the Dominion fleet. "They are tearing us apart," shouted one officer. "They cannot be stopped," screamed another. The galaxy watched. On distant worlds, on trade stations and war councils, billions of eyes stared in silence. These were not the ships of children. These were not scraps held together by luck. These were weapons of a people forged in fire. For the first time, fear replaced laughter. The Valori had mocked human design. But now, as their fleets fell apart, they understood the truth. Human ships were not art, they were scars. Every bolt, every plate carried the memory of a violent Earth, a world where only the strong survived. The Valori commander tried one last desperate push. His fleet gathered into a spearhead, aiming to pierce the human line. Energy beams flared, cutting across steel hulls, scorching human armor. One human destroyer cracked apart, venting air and flame. Men and women died, but still the fleet did not falter. Instead, the human formation tightened. Their guns answered with fury. Shell after shell struck the spearhead, smashing it to pieces. The Valori commander's flagship, shining brighter than the rest, was ripped in half by 3 heavy rounds. The explosion lit the battlefield like a dying star. Silence followed. The surviving Valori ships, broken and scattered, turned to flee. Pride was gone. Arrogance was gone. Only fear remained. They left their wrecks behind, abandoned their dead, and ran into the dark. The humans did not chase. Their ships held formation, steady and unshaken. Their cannons lowered, their engines slowed. They stood among the wreckage of gold and fire, battered but unbroken, and in that silence the galaxy understood. For centuries, they had laughed at human ships. They had mocked the steel, the rust, the ugly bolts. But laughter had turned to terror. The Valori Dominion, once feared across half the stars, had been shattered in a single battle. Whispers spread across the galaxy. Some called the humans monsters. Some called them survivor. But all agreed on one truth. Never again would anyone laugh at Earth's fleets. The humans did not cheer. There were no songs of victory, no proud speeches. Their captains sat in silence, mourning the ships they had lost, the lives that had ended in fire. They had not fought for glory. They had fought to endure. And endure they had. The galaxy had thought the humans weak, but in that battle, the stars themselves had learned the truth. Humanity was dangerous. Humanity was strong. Humanity was fire, and now the galaxy could never forget. The battlefield was quiet now. Wreckage drifted through the endless dark golden fragments of the once proud Valori fleet. Human ships floated among the ruins, scarred but standing. Their hulls bore the marks of fire and beam, but their hearts still burned strong. The news spread faster than light. Across the galaxy, on distant stations and crowded worlds, voices whispered the same truth. The humans had won. At first, many could not believe it. The Valori Dominion had never lost such a battle. Their fleets had crushed rebellions, conquered empires, and silenced rivals. Yet against Earth, against ships mocked as trash, they had been shattered. Shock turned into fear. In the halls of the Cathari Empire, advisors trembled. If the humans can destroy the Valori, they whispered, what will they do to us? The Andari Republic, who once laughed the loudest, now grew silent. Their silver cruisers, polished and perfect, suddenly looked fragile compared to the gray iron of Earth. Even the Zythal traders who once joked about humans being junk haulers changed their tone. We will not mock them again, they said quietly. Better to trade with fire than to be burned by it. Everywhere, the galaxy remembered the thunder of human guns. But for the humans, it was not triumph they carried home. Inside their ships, crews mourned the ones who had fallen. Families waited for voices that would never return. Victory had been earned, but it was written in blood. The admirals of Earth spoke plainly. We did not fight for conquest. We fought because we were challenged. We fought because we had no choice. We fight so our children may live. Their words were carried across the stars, and though many alien rulers feared them, some began to respect them. For they saw the truth, humanity was not reckless. Humanity was not hungry for empires. Humanity was a people who built ugly ships because beauty could not save them. Strength could. The Valori Dominion tried to hide their shame. They claimed it was only a small defeat, that more fleets would rise. But their people knew better. The survivors whispered of thunder, of shells tearing through gold. The Valori, proud and fierce, had met an enemy unlike any other. And deep inside even they felt fear. The balance of power shifted. Where once Earth had been ignored, now every council spoke of them. Where once they were mocked, now they were watched with wary eyes. Do not provoke them, the elders said. Do not mistake their silence for weakness. Do not mistake their scars for frailty. The galaxy began to understand a lesson that Earth had always known. Survival was not about beauty. It was not about elegance or pride. Survival was about endurance. It was about standing when others fell, and humanity had endured. From that day, whenever human fleets entered a system, the stars grew quiet. No one laughed at their gray ships anymore. No one mocked the bolts and the scars. Instead, voices hushed and eyes turned with respect or with fear. The Valori defeat was not just a battle lost. It was the beginning of something greater. It was a reminder to all civilizations that a new power had risen, not one born of ancient empires or noble traditions, but one born of fire, struggle, and unbreakable will. Humanity had declared its place in the galaxy, not with words, not with boasts, but with thunder, and the galaxy would never forget. The galaxy would never be the same. Whispers of Earth's victory traveled faster than any fleet. Across the stars, in council chambers and marketplaces, the name Earth became a sound that drew attention. Where once humans were laughed at, now they were watched. Where once their ships were called scrap, now they carried a new title, gunships. It began quietly, almost as a joke at first. Alien captains muttered it under their breath. Watch out for the gunships. Traders added, they do not fight with beauty, they fight with fire. And soon, the whispers became stories, stories became warnings, and warnings became legend. But the humans themselves did not celebrate. They had lost comrades, friends, and families. Every scar on their ships, every dent in the hull, was a memory of someone who would never return home. They did not boast about their victory. They did not parade through systems. They simply continued their work, repairing ships, training crews, and preparing for the next challenge. Because humanity knew the truth. Power alone did not keep a species alive. Survival did. And survival demanded vigilance, courage, and the willingness to fight when all seemed lost. The stars themselves seemed to remember that battle. Systems once silent now whispered of Earth. Civilizations that had never feared humans now studied their tactics. Ships across the galaxy changed their course, avoiding the gray silhouettes that had once been mocked but now carried the power of thunder. The Valori Dominion, once feared for centuries, never recovered fully. Their pride was broken, and their fleets were rebuilt more cautiously. They would never forget the day their golden ships fell like leaves in a storm, and neither would anyone else. Yet for humanity the story was personal, not political. It was a reminder of why they fought, why they built, why they endured. Each gunship was a symbol not just of strength, but of the human spirit, a spirit that refused to bow, refused to flee, refused to be laughed at. In quiet moments, among the stars, the human captains remembered their families, their teachers, their engineers. They remembered the nights spent welding metal under dim lights, the days spent learning to survive storms on Earth, the stories of ancestors who never gave up. Every ship carried that memory into the void. Every gun fired carried the heartbeat of a planet, and the galaxy learned the sound of that heartbeat. Other species tried to study it, to replicate it, to match it. None could, for human ingenuity was not elegant, it was relentless. Their weapons were not art. They were promise. They were warning. They were survival itself made tangible. From that day on, whenever a human fleet approached, the stars grew quiet. Silence fell not out of respect alone, but out of understanding. The gunships were more than ships. They were the embodiment of a species that had survived plagues, wars, storms, and darkness. They were the sound of endurance made real. The galaxy once laughed at human ships. It mocked their bolts, their plates, their scars, but the laughter had died with the first thunder of human guns. The memory of that sound, louder than pride, sharper than fear, unstoppable as fire, lived on. Humanity did not need to boast. They did not need to parade through space to prove their worth. The stars themselves whispered the story, and the galaxies would never forget. When the human guns fired, the mighty fell. When the humans fought, survival became legend. When the universe laughed, Earth answered with thunder. And so, the legend of the gunships was born.